The Week I Review, episode 1.4, The Death of MoviePass, was a critical one for this channel. Though MoviePass has long ago left the cultural conversation and that video's reach has been eclipsed, it was the first to pass 100 views, and then 500. It got the first comments from people I didn't actually know. As MoviePass publicly imploded, I jumped over to AMC A-List. It made sense that a movie theater could make the economics work in a way that was just impossible for a third party. At launch, A-List was $20 a month everywhere, and according to the Wall Street Journal, an A-List ticket was determined by AMC to be a $9 equivalent, approximately the average ticket price in the country, though well below its average in Manhattan, and studios were being paid accordingly. That meant a customer could watch 3 movies in a month, which MoviePass claimed was typical of its users, and still AMC would come out on top, and that is before the high-margin concessions that MoviePass was never going to get a cut of, no matter what they believed. In certain markets, 16 states, the price eventually went up. And now that I've been using the service for a year, this past week finally saw that $4 a month increase on my bill. But that's fine, because it's still the best deal out there. Hello, by the way, and welcome to the Week I Review. You can call me a guy who willingly paid $45 a month for MoviePass. And today, I'm talking about AMC A-List, but also the other ones. Funnily enough, I was actually going to do this video now even before Regal announced their A-List competitor, Regal Unlimited, but them doing so gave me a much more timely title, so thanks, guys. At the end of the MoviePass era, I actually went to Regal's a lot. After they redid all of the theaters at the RPX 13 in Times Square, it became my favorite theater in Manhattan. The seats were big and comfortable, and there were walls in between the rows, so if garbage people decided to pull out their phones, no one behind them, i.e. me, would have their experiences ruined. And if Regal had unveiled Unlimited at the same time that AMC did A-List, I would have had at least several minutes of indecision before doing exactly the thing that I did, because after looking into it, Regal Unlimited is bad, and the company should feel bad. It fundamentally misunderstands the appeal of both MoviePass and A-List. First up, having tiers the way they do is obnoxious. Calling something unlimited and then having unlimited plus and unlimited all access on top of that is some video game collector's edition level nonsense, and requiring people to search out their local theaters in a big, ugly list to find out which tier they'll need is a sketchy obfuscation that I just cannot get behind. Charge more for different markets, sure, but don't force customers to jump through hoops to figure out what they need. The logic behind the base name, though, is reasonably sound. Unlike A-List and even MoviePass at its most generous, you legitimately can see as many movies as you want with an unlimited subscription. There is no weekly or even daily limit on the number of screenings. But it's not quite that simple. But if it were, it would still miss the point. Even accounting for a handful of rewatches, there is pretty much no week where a mainstream theater offers more than the A-List cap of 3 movies you'd even want to see. New York was one of the few places where people could truly take advantage of the breadth of MoviePass's offerings because it included the big theaters and the small ones. Indie movies and other limited releases, as well as one-off showings of classics every single day, meant that you could see 30 movies in theaters and still have missed great offerings. No one theater, or even chain, can do that. Sheer quantity is useless if it's not matched by wide variety and high quality. Of the chains, though, AMC is definitely the best, especially in New York, because it's just the most common one. Manhattan has 9 AMC theaters. I live just a few blocks from one, actually the only AMC theater in New York that never took MoviePass, so that's kind of nice, and less than a block from another. And some of those theaters do show more niche or even foreign releases, meaning I got to see movies like The Last Black Man in San Francisco, They Shall Not Grow Old, and Korean thriller The Gangster, the Cop, the Devil on subscription. But even with all that access, I never came close to the limit. In the past 52 weeks, I used A-List 52 times. 43 movies with 7 repeats and 1 three-peat. I saw at least 3 movies every month, but never more than 7. Sometimes it would be a couple of weeks in between screenings. In one case, it was a few hours. Climax and Captain Marvel make quite the double feature. And though I saw a number of movies in other theaters over that time, Metrograph, Film Forum, Lincoln Center, AMC served as a comfortable majority, and I saved a hell of a lot of money as a result. Particularly since a full 19 of those screenings, 36%, were so-called premium formats, 3D, Prime, Dolby Cinema, IMAX. Indeed, the thing that finally pushed me to A-List was the release of Mission Impossible Fallout, because I knew I had to see it in IMAX. And a New York IMAX ticket was, and still is actually, more than the price of a month of A-List. It seemed bonkers to not sign up. And I saw it again in IMAX a week later, effectively for free, and I was already sold. Regal Unlimited All Access, which is basically the same price as A-List in markets like New York, doesn't actually give you all access. Surcharges are added for 3D, IMAX, RPX, etc. Not only that, every time you buy a ticket in the app, you get charged a goddamn convenience fee. I thought that was a joke. When I read it in the FAQ, my jaw literally dropped, and Danielle was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Read this." And she was like, "What?" It seems inconceivable that they would do something as obnoxious as add 50 freaking cents to your bill anytime you wanted to take advantage of the goddamn service you already goddamn paid for. And it's not like that's a lot of money. You would need to see literally 33 movies for that to equate to even a single regular price ticket in New York. Less if you live in an area where you could conceivably use one of the cheaper plans. But that's actually exactly the point. It's the principle of the thing. Imagine if Netflix charged you 5 cents every time you wanted to watch something, or even 1 cent. It wouldn't meaningfully impact your bottom line, but you would unsubscribe immediately at the audacity of the thing and just start pirating everything again. At least, I would. It is not so subtly pushing you away from actually taking advantage of the unlimited part of the service. And the literal only thing that Regal had going for it at first glance was it being somewhat cheaper than A-List in certain markets, because it starts at around $18 instead of $20, and it doesn't even really have that. See 4 movies in a month and the difference is gone. See 5, you're at a deficit. Throw an IMAX screening in there, and what the heck are you even doing, dude? Why would you sign up for this service? Like, genuinely, I don't get it. And I would like to metaphorically pour one out for Cinemia while we're talking. It was the only real competitor during MoviePass's heyday. It pitched itself more as a way to get discounted tickets rather than really subscribing to the theatrical experience, and it was something I seriously considered before A-List was announced, but that announcement, mixed with a whole lot of negativity from Cinemia's actual users, steered me away. Since it shut down abruptly this past April, seems that was probably for the best. MoviePass also still technically exists, but it's hard to believe that will be for much longer. The service keeps changing its offerings and going through long blackout periods. The things I said a year ago hold true. And I would be remiss not to mention that there are a couple of other chain-specific options out there. There's Cinemark Movie Club, which honestly probably shouldn't be considered in the same category as the others, but generally is. Though it's cheap at around half the price of the other ones, it offers only a single ticket each month for the price, alongside some discounts and the like. If you're going to Cinemark at least once a month regardless, I guess why not, but whatever. Alamo Drafthouse's season pass is definitely a bigger deal despite the chain's small size, but comparisons are complicated since the service doesn't officially exist yet. It's been in testing for a while, with the only real announcements being that it will be in the same $20 ballpark as the other legit subscriptions in non-New York markets, and will come sometime this year. That said, now that Regal unveiled theirs, maybe this video will be outdated within minutes of it going live, but I think we can reasonably guess that it will allow for some number of movies and probably include a small discount on food and drink, which is standard on all of these other things as well. Inevitably, it will be a great deal for anyone who spends even a medium amount of time and money at the Draft House each month. And if I was one of those people, I'd probably be all over it. If they had been able to open a theater mere blocks from where I used to live as they had planned, it would make the question far more difficult for me than it is now. Because the thing is that the actual AMC theater experience isn't always top-notch. I have sat in more than a couple of not totally functional seats at AMC theaters, and multiple of their Dolby Cinema screens in this city, ostensibly the best and brightest, have visible damage that is super distracting when bright images are on screen. Plus, it's basically inevitable that someone will be talking or checking their phone, and I do ask people to please turn it off or be quiet if I'm sitting close enough, but usually it's some jerk in the first couple of rows keeping their phone on max brightness, and that's just a thing that's allowed to happen there. And I hate it. But I would hate it so much more if I was paying $15 or $17 or $23 or whatever for that one ticket and had the lesser experience. The subscription model, by making each individual transaction cost exactly nothing, lets me shrug off frustrations like that or the jankiness of the AMC app in a way that I can't if I pay for a full price ticket at the Metrograph or the Walter Reed and then have a bad experience. Alamo has their kick folks out policy, which I appreciate. But TBH, the whole food service thing is distracting too, so it's not like that's a panacea. The movie theater business has changed dramatically in the past few years, and it's fascinating to see how quickly companies are changing with it. AMC timed the release of A-List perfectly to capitalize on a failing cultural phenomenon, and it has done very well for them. And I'm really glad that they're sticking with it, because as long as their competitors are putting out lesser options like that Regal garbage, I'm sticking with them. 8.7 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, that's great. If not, I'm sorry. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe. I hope to see you next week.